Welcome to the RavenFist inaugural podcast on YouTube.
Well, it's not really a podcast, it's a video.
Well, that's true.
Okay.
Podcast video. Silhouette.
Pitio?
Whoa. We can create something new.
I'm not sure.
It's audio.
So this is...
That's something, that's something else.
So this is different from our podcast in that, one, it's on YouTube. It is in addition to the audio podcast that we're doing. We're doing some video. There are some things that we want to talk about that require gameplay footage and that kind of thing. So here we are in this lovely theater that we had built for this purpose. It is a real theater. No special effects were involved in the creation of this. And we are about to get underway. We thought Excuse me?
What?
Do you have something you want to say?
Oh, no.
He was asking about the popcorn.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you have any?
No. Unfortunately, the popcorn machine was back ordered. So we thought a good topic for an inaugural YouTube video is first levels of video games. So we have a handful of video game first levels. We're going to start this playing, and we're going to see where the conversation leads us. So without further ado, here we go. So this is a classic, 1-1 of Super Mario Brothers. But what do you think about it? What does it do for you?
It probably makes me rage a little bit because of my level of expertise, or the non-existent level of my expertise in platforming. And this is probably where that all began.
But see, this, it's level 1. This is the one you can actually beat, Stacy.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Matt makes a good point. Level 1 is non-threatening. I mean, you can die here, sure. I've seen many people do so. But there are no real obstacles. And in fact, the level is kind of designed to where you have to try really hard to not succeed in it.
I think it is a great first level just to kind of show you how things work. And I know someone mentioned it before. I don't know if it was Chris or Stacy, but how it's basically impossible to miss the mushroom unless you just try really hard. And so if you don't know what the heck that is, you're like, why is this blinky mushroom chasing me around? Well, then it hits you. Oh, it's a good thing. Now I'm big.
So that is unique about Mario. You have mushrooms that are enemies, and then you also have mushrooms that are power-ups in the game. And the way that they kind of differentiate between those two, you might, if you were completely brand new to video games, never played anything in your life, you might think, hey, this other mushroom that's coming at me is bad. I want to avoid it. But with the way those blocks are arranged and the way the character jumps, it's really, really hard to avoid. And then you hit it and you discover, oh, hey, it's a friendly mushroom.
So, it depends on which batch Mario got into.
Well, the metaphors in Super Mario Brothers, that's for a different video down the road, so we'll skip that. All right, the next game we have on the agenda is Bonk's Adventure for the TurboGrafx 16, and also level 1-1, and we'll see it kind of steals some platforming ideas from Mario, but creates its own thing.
He looks like a baby.
Yeah, he kind of does. He's supposed to be a big-headed caveman.
Yeah, headbutt.
Yeah,
except
headbutting is his main
happy face
attack.
I have never played this. Looks kind of cool.
It looks kind of cool. It's got some of those same teaching elements that the first Mario level has. So you immediately realize that these people are not enemies. They're not things that you can destroy. And the fact that they place vegetables and fruit up there at the top, you're like, well, how do I get those?
Almost looked like a cat vegetable. Oh, but that guy was bad. He was red. Or maybe not.
Oh, whoa. What was that?
So the game tricked you. Something that had previously been taught that this is friendly for you, they pulled the rug under you. But then they're instructing you that way as well, that, you can't trust everything.
That does look like a cat.
So he ate a piece of meat. And here is my big problem with Bonk, and in the idea of a first level that it teaches you something. You have no idea what power-up you just gained from eating that piece of meat.
He did grow some hair.
He did, and I mean the sprite changes, so you know something's different. And then when you eat the second piece of meat, the sprite changes, so you know something's different. And this one has flashing.
Okay, wait, did he just go nuclear?
Yeah.
Okay, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Well, no, but
Nuclear.
But we've been taught from other video games that when you're flashing, that means nothing can hurt you. But you don't understand that you now have the ability to make things stone. You don't understand that the actual attack value has increased.
Did
Is
he
he
turn
tearing
into
up?
like a zombie or something?
I don't really know what he's supposed to be there. That's just...
Well, and it looked like he
Yeah.
was tearing up, poor little guy. Maybe, it's painful. He's just really angry.
Land on your head enough times.
Right?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah,
Dropped the baby on the head.
but yeah, I mean, fun game, good platformer, solid TurboGrafx 16 game, but not quite as skillfully put together as like a Super Mario Brothers, perhaps. But still, you certainly get enough there that you can play. And of course, this is a game from the late 80s, early 90s, so it came with an instruction manual, which is blowing anyone's mind away right now that only exists in the PS4 era.
I miss this.
But in that instruction manual, fully explained, hey, this is a power-up. It's increasing your attack power. It's also giving you these abilities. So if you read that, you would get it. But especially me personally, as somebody who is now delving into creating games, I'm very fascinated by first levels that can instruct you without verbiage, without a manual, without being like, oh, here's a tutorial. And so I think that's interesting to see how Bonk succeeded in some areas and failed in others.
And I think that's important nowadays, since there is no instruction manuals. I mean, yeah, you could go out to, Reddit or something and figure out anything, but it'd be nice to just figure it out just playing the game. But I do want to go back, and instruction manuals, it's like a lost art. Like, I remember as a kid, anytime I'd get a new game or rent a game or anything, like the first thing I would do as mom's driving me back home is I'd rip into that sucker and read the instruction manual from cover to back. Like, it didn't matter what it was. It was like that was like the true beginning of the game, was just reading the book.
I agree. I miss it terribly.
But hey, now we got inserts for DLC. Yeah.
You just killed my soul
great.
a little bit there.
It's great.
All right, this next game is a phenomenal game. I think it still holds up today every bit as much as when it first released. And it has a killer first level. So here is Doom. You start off and you have a room that is completely benign. So you can wander around, you get used to the controls, you can figure out what the deal is.
What the blue thingies are.
Right, you learn all about all the power-ups. You have a very clear HUD.
You know something's wrong because there's, nasty
Right.
exploded corpses.
You have barrels, and let's be honest, we're all going to shoot barrels whenever we see them. So we learn that those explode. And then we learn that there are doors. And now we're placed into a combat situation.
Poor guy got stuck in a box. Oh man, this game was so awesome.
Oh,
It,
yeah,
it really
was.
is.
And here's another thing you're about to learn, that even though it's stuck on a 2D plane, so to speak, it does have verticality. And it shows you an enemy that you can shoot at and actually affect the y-axis in order to kill him, which I think is a brilliant way to show you that that is a component of this game. And then you have this guy, and honestly, as I was recording this footage, I don't know how he survived that many shots.
I think you're supposed to shoot the barrel, and it's like, hey, look, you can blow up this guy.
Blow him up.
Okay.
But you like the hard way, so that's fine.
Probably the worst thing about this game when I first got it was the 18 installation discs from the floppy. I remember getting that thing, and it was like as thick as a phone book.
And then when one would start to become unreadable, and you'd have to try it 7 times, you're like, oh, please work.
Yeah.
I just want to install my game. Yeah, no, my first experience with Doom was we upgraded to a 14.4 baud modem. and I was so excited that it was only going to take me 4 hours to download the shareware of Doom. I was like, man, I'm in the high country. That's all I need right there. So
I wonder if some people listening have no idea what you just said.
I'm convinced several people.
I'm sure,
But look it up; it's fascinating. But I think people forget how smart they designed Doom. I mean, all of the levels in that game are just polished to a shine, and they're so intelligent the way the map's laid out. And it gets the credit for being the first-person shooter, essentially. And it gets the credit for ushering in that style and that era of gameplay. But I don't think it gets enough credit for how well made
Well, shockingly, I think it still gets more credit than we probably realize, because it actually, I was reading a list of the top 100 first-person shooters of 2018, and it was actually the #1 shooter. So there are still a lot of people that I think are actually playing.
Even now.
good.
Even now.
It. Well, good,
So-
because it is awesome and it holds up. And I'm sure the 2016 Doom helped reignite some interest in it.
It's probably true.
I'm sure it did. I think a lot of people saw the 2016 Doom, and I know the three of us, having played the original, you definitely could tell that game harkens back to the the original, and that they were trying to recapture the feeling there, because I personally think the Doom franchise had kind of gone a little off the mark.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was it Doom or Doom? Did Doom? I don't know if Doom had it, but I remember Doom 2. I mean, you had the full blown campaign, you had full blown deathmatch, you had complete co-op. You could go through the whole thing with a buddy. And I mean, and nowadays you can't hope for that in most games.
Yeah.
And so it's like, they got just almost everything right.
All right, so this next one is the opening stage of Medal of Honor Frontline. And to give this a little bit of context, this game was released in a period of history where Call of Duty did not rule the roost. And in fact, there was a period of time where people thought Medal of Honor was the better series. And then, of course, Call of Duty became the better series and totally trounced it to the point where nobody makes Medal of Honor games anymore. But this level, I think, is special, and I think we'll enjoy kind of going through this. So immediately something this level has that has not been... this is certainly not the first game that has done this, but it's the first game we're looking at today that's done it. It's so cinematic.
Mm-hmm.
I love
the
this
tone
game.
right away.
I mean, I played this level over and over and over, because at the time it was so realistic, and it was almost like you were there. I mean, it's such a sets the environment up to where you're really part of it. And I think when you're looking at this and kind of comparing this to, say, Saving Private Ryan, which is something that came out around the same time, it really, for me, made that experience even that much more immersive.
I had the same experience. I played this level time and time again, and even to the point where, honestly, the rest of the game kind of isn't that great.
I did the same thing. I do have to tell you, I hate the dogs, though.
They kind of set the bar high here.
I would even make an argument that it's the cinematic presentation of this level that matters the most. And had I been the designer behind here for this one stage, and I would have backed off on this on the second level, but for this one stage, I would have had no UI. Nothing. Because we'll see here in a minute when they get off the boat, there's really nothing that this level teaches you. It's all just about the frantic attack.
Strike scattered what's left of our squad all over the beach. 4 of our boys over there. Help them move up the beach to the seawall. Damn it! I'll give you some covering fire. Now move out!
We are all really caught up in this.
Yeah. Well,
It's kind of one of those things that it deserves the silence.
And I guess to go back to that cinematic, Chris, what type of influence you think maybe this game has had on other games that have come since? Because the cutscene on newer games, like you take, say, Diablo 3, for instance, which isn't exceptionally new, but really the cutscenes in that game are what make that game. I mean, are a lot too, you know, it feeds you the story, because otherwise you're just a guy running around, you know, hacking and slashing and picking up, you know, rewards.
Yeah. You know, you picked an interesting game to compare it to, because I think they're two very different styles of cinematic. I think that Medal of Honor here is a much more interactive style of cinematic. I mean, you're almost still playing the opening cinema scene right now, whereas Diablo, I feel, is very disconnected. Like it presents you with this amazingly rendered cutscene movie that fills in the story, and then it drops you into the game. Which is not to say that that's a bad way to do it. I just think that, especially during this period of game development, there was a lot of push towards that kind of interactivity. Like, don't have a cutscene just to show off how impressively you can render something. Mm-hmm. I think that was really PlayStation 1 eras. I mean, that was Final Fantasy VII's thing. Yeah. And now it was all about like, let's incorporate the gameplay. Let's do it, you know, that way. So during this phase of development, I think there was a real push towards let's incorporate the gameplay. Let's make it an interactive situation. Now, as far as how much Medal of Honor specifically affected the industry, I don't really know the history of the game well enough, but I think it was mentioned earlier with Saving Private Ryan. You know, and I think that given the two topic matters, the fact that they're both World War II, the point of this game was to create that kind of experience. And then you would just see those kinds of experiences just try to be presented to the player in a very visceral way, in a way that you are really part of it. And I think leading into the next game that we're going to talk about, you'll see more of that, of how it's a very cinematic experience that is, you are kind of one with the story kind of a thing, instead of the game being a very distinct, here's your story moment, enjoy that, and now here's your gameplay moment. Any other thoughts on Medal of Honor before we go to the next one?
Great title. Yeah. I loved it.
Yep.
It really is a good game. All right, now this next one, I fear that those watching this video are going to roll their eyes a little bit, because what hasn't been said about this opening sequence, but let me tell you why it's here. It's here because our very own Matt said, I want to talk about that level.
What?
I want that level included.
I didn't say that.
You exactly said that.
I don't remember
And
this.
so, okay, I included the level. So, Matt, what do you have to say about Uncharted 2?
It's pretty.
I hope
There's
we go.
Nathan Fillion. Or, I mean, Nathan Drake. Whoops.
Oh, man.
It really is one of the greatest game openings ever.
He says, hit me, I'm bleeding out.
Why is the world funny?
It's like, wait, flying boxes. Whoa.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Yep, there's gravity.
That is not a good thing.
Oh, this poor guy. Seriously don't remember what I'm supposed to say about this, but man, I love this part of the game.
I'm just trying to figure out what happened.
So this kicks you off at the beginning of the game. You have seen the opening of the game. There is no pre this. No. They throw you right into this train disaster where obviously something bad has happened, and it's really a media in res kind of a situation, which is brilliant and isn't done very often in games. So kudos to Naughty Dog for doing that. And then it does teach you how to play the game. I mean, chances are you already knew if you played the first Uncharted. But you're climbing around the situation. You got to figure out the way up. And then kind of like how we started that conversation about cinematic presentation with Medal of Honor, it's really kicked into high gear here because you have instances like that.
Well, it is, because this is not a difficult, like, no matter what it looks like, this is not a hard part of the game.
Right.
Like, it is a tutorial. It is the first level. But the whole time that you're playing it, you're just like, oh my gosh, like what is going to happen next? I mean, stuff just keeps happening and things just keep going more and more downhill. But yet, it does teach you everything you need to know, and you don't have to worry so much about, oh man, if I can't find the right thing to climb on or whatever. Like it works that all in so flawlessly.
Yeah, you really have to try to fall off this train.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's not one wrong press of the controller isn't going to doom you.
And also prepares you for, this is so unreal. Like, guy in his bare hands in this kind of weather, grabbing jagged metal.
With
I
a
don't think
wound
so.
in
With
his
a wound,
side like
yeah,
that?
Yeah.
It could happen.
Maybe if it were actually Nathan Fillion.
Yeah, I think he could probably get that done.
But the Uncharted games, I mean, the point of them is we're going to make a movie.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it gets dinged from a gameplay perspective, and I always laugh because it's like, if you're playing this for a gameplay perspective, then pick a different game.
Seriously.
I always thought the point was to make me rage quit because of all the platforming, but that's an interesting point that you're, you know. They are a beautiful series. I mean, they're so well done, and you know, I think, like we talked about the experience being immersive with, you know, the Medal of Honor titles, I think this takes that to another level because, you know, you're fighting the environment and circumstance in this, which I think, you know, it takes it to another level.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out where everybody else is at.
You know, so it starts off with this media interest section. After he gets through the train, it goes to a flashback, and then that fills in the rest of the story.
Oh, okay.
And then about 2/3 of the way through the game, you catch up to this moment, and then you finish out the narrative.
But I mean, what a way to start.
Oh yeah. I mean, maybe my favorite game opening across any genre. Maybe.
Yeah, you know that's not happening.
It's like when I get home after work.
Yeah. So there you go. We included that format. You're welcome.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
It's a great opening level, and in a discussion about opening levels, it's earned its place.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Well, and I think it encapsulates just that game. It just really gives you a good insight to what your experience is going to be like, except for the gunplay parts. Those are kind of the two main parts of that game. Is the platforming, exploring, you know, basically being a superhero badass, running around, you know, climbing all this stuff, and then shooting people.
So, sorry, Chris.
Don't want to interrupt you, but to play off of Matt's comment, that is the next thing, though. Like we cut
That's
it,
true.
we cut it
Yeah.
at the flashback, and then when whoever the cutscene is done, and you're back to gameplay, you're immediately into a gunplay situation,
Yep.
and then it kind of goes back and forth for the rest of the game. So, Stacy, what were you gonna say?
Well, you can tell how much of an influence that Uncharted has had on that type of game moving forward, and you know, when you're looking into some of the Tomb Raider series, which the guys recently introduced me to, which, you know, I honestly was not the biggest fan of Uncharted as I was trying to play it. It was like one of the first titles, and I was trying to learn the controller. But now playing, you know, Tomb Raider and seeing kind of some of the things it does in there, that's definitely a series I would like to go back and spend some time with.
And I always thought that in some instances, Tomb Raider succeeded even more than Uncharted did in trying to achieve that cohesion of cinema and game. And I do love the Uncharted series. I loved all four of them. And but it kind of seems like, as an industry, people have said, you know, let Uncharted be Uncharted, and we're going to go do something else. There hasn't been the huge flood of that style of game that I expected, especially when 2 came out, because 2 just hit like a bomb, and everybody, you couldn't go anywhere without hearing about Uncharted 2, you know. And then, but I think, thankfully, we haven't had a ton of Uncharted clones. And I think Tomb Raider, even though they borrowed some of those ideas, they really applied them to that game and improved them in their context.
Well, in the puzzling aspect, I mean, they kind of combined that Uncharted set piece with environmental puzzle,
right,
and like merge those into something that's a lot of fun.
Right, made it very smart. Yeah. All right, so that was our discussion of first levels. Our second YouTube video will be discussion of second level. No, I'm kidding. That's not what we're gonna do. We thought that we'd take that opportunity for that cohesion. First episode, first levels. It made sense. Now, if you guys like this type of content, let us know in the comments. Go to our website, RavenFist.com. You can reach us there via email or contact form. Let us know what you thought. If you like this kind of level analysis, we can certainly put more videos like this together, just picking and choosing levels that we think have something great to teach or some merit to video game design that we can kind of suss those out, have a little discussion about it. But we will have many different types of videos on this channel as we continue to grow and to create different things. But until next time, thanks for watching.